Hello, good evening, and welcome to Camnet Television News. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo. The top stories in the news tonight: PF presidential hopeful Emmanuel MWAMBA remains in police custody. Zambia graduates first locally trained neurosurgeons and radiologists. LUSAKA woman gets 30 months simple imprisonment for manslaughter. In international news, flood victims denounce aid profiteering in Eastern DRC. And in sports news, Copper Queens kick-off Germany camp.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
Thanks for joining us once again. Another news in detail. Youths from Western, Luapula and Southern provinces have appealed to the Ministry of Green Economy and Environment to intensify engagement with children on climate change-related issues. Speaking during an engagement meeting, the children have bemoaned the need to include them in decision-making in the fight against climate change, stating that their human rights are being infringed on due to persisting climate change effects. Meanwhile, Minister of Green Economy and Environment Collins Nzovo says including children in its operations is a priority and will be evidenced in the participation of the COP28. More in the following report.
The need to diversify crops and livestock to improve nutrition and food security, promotion of alternative sources of livelihood, and enhance water management to withstand climatic condition and small-scale irrigation are among the means to reduce vulnerability to climate change. While the impact of climate change in Zambia is still visible from the 2022-2023 rainy season, the need to actualize Sustainable Development Goal number 13, which seeks to combat climate change and address its impact, cannot be achieved if efforts are made in isolation. It is for this reason that these pupils, drawn from 3 provinces, namely Luapula, Western and Southern, are calling for government to include them in decision-making focusing on climate change.
The policy and the platform that allows us children to participate at the table of decision-making in matters that concern climate change. The other thing that we're asking for is if we can introduce the food feeding programs in school. As you are aware that in Choma we have recorded about 40% crop failure. As a result, we don't have enough food and children are going in school hungry. So we ask that if you can introduce a food program that will help us, because it is a strategy to address hunger and improve performance in school.
Kema district is one of the communities where tobacco is farmed. That's the main activity. The right to education is threatened. So my appeal is for the community members to switch and start growing new crops.
Kabidi foksa ngetu mvya fishima tatoka tamataps. Fishima menshi ngaya kama. Fofa bana nfo kuchurira mutura mutapa menshi kutumano kutari. Namba pakuti tuwere mutapa menshi kudia. Nishitaira paso right to education ila wa affected. So tulelo mbako na ifo kusamvya. Ngafino fina bana nsu.
Meanwhile, Care for Nature Zambia and Keepers Foundation Zambia has called on the ministry to firmly engage children on all platforms on climate change issues.
Where the children are coming from, places like Zambia, we've got a lot of challenges when it comes to water and sanitation. Most of the wells dry up and children spend a lot of hours just looking for water. It affects education. Zambia is also prone to flooding. When we have a lot of rain, you'll find that children even fail to access education. We are happy that we've got this opportunity to speak to you because we know that Zambia is the chair for the African Group of Negotiators, and we feel this is the right time for Zambia to also claim space for children. I think it's only when children are involved in decision making and finding solutions that we are going to adapt to climate change.
Minister, we want to be part of the system to disseminate the information, which you have really taken it handy in terms of reaching out.
The Minister of Green Economy and Environment, Collins Nzovu, says children are key in decision-making, hence prioritizing them.
Not only to mitigate, but to adapt. Not only to adapt, but to build resilience. Not only to build resilience, but also to pay for losses and damages we keep suffering year in and year out, which are wiping out our GDPs. So we need to ensure that we look at all these.
Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
Lusaka High Court Judge Laston Mwanawo has convicted Lusaka-based 22-year-old Maeka Musowe to 30 months simple imprisonment for manslaughter, contrary to the laws of Zambia. Musowe is alleged to have killed her 2-year-old son by suffocating him with a pillow in early August last year. More in the following report.
Lusaka High Court Judge Laston Mwanawo has convicted a 22-year-old woman who killed her 2-year-old son by suffocating him using a pillow for manslaughter. Justice Mwanawo has sentenced Musowe Maike to 30 months simple imprisonment, effective date of arrest. Musowe Maike was initially facing 1 count of murder, which was later amended to manslaughter, contrary to Section 199 of the Penal Code, Chapter 87 of the laws of Zambia. It is alleged that Maike, on August 13, 2022 in Lusaka, jointly and whilst acting together with other persons, murdered Sangwan Chabinga, aged 2 years and 7 months. When the matter came up for possible plea, Maike pleaded guilty after Justice Mwanawo read out the charge to her, who later convicted her. In her mitigation, Maike asked the court for lenience. However, Justice Mwanawo sentenced her to 30 months simple imprisonment so as to deter would-be offenders. Police arrested and detained Maike in August last year for killing her 2-year-old son, Sangwan Chabinga. In a statement, police spokesperson Reha Monga said police had received a report from Mokwane Maike of Kamwala South area that her young sister Musowe, aged 22, had murdered her own child on August 13, 2022 at Shamkan Lodge in Kamwala South. In the police report, it is stated that the suspect told her sister that she killed her son because she had nothing to feed him. In passing judgment, Lusaka High Court Judge Laston Mwanawo convicted the 22-year-old Maike Musowe to 30 months simple imprisonment for manslaughter, contrary to the laws of Zambia. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
Zambia has graduated its first neurosurgeons and radiologists from the Zambia College of Medicine and Surgery 3 years after its inception. Speaking shortly after graduating, radiologist Dr. Veronica Sichizia says radiology has become an important medical procedure and that she is excited to be among the first radiologists that Zambia is graduating. Meanwhile, Ministry of Health Permanent Secretary Administration Dr. George Sinyangwe, who officiated at the graduation ceremony in Lusaka Thursday, says the graduates will be considered for upgrade when government starts the recruitments of 3,000 health workers later this year. Dr. Sinyangwe says Zambia is also in talks with other countries to transfer human resource to these countries and that government will soon announce the number of health workers who will need to be sent to other countries. More in this report.
Zambia has for the first time graduated the first neurosurgeons and radiologists from the Zambia College of Medicine and Surgery, who were among the 99 doctors who have graduated in various advanced fields of study. Dr. Veronica Sichizia is among the few radiologists who Zambia has produced for the first time and could not hide a joy.
My advice to you is that please specialize in radiology. You know, it's a field I love. There's no boredom. I don't know how my day feels. I told you it's X-ray, it's ultrasound, it's CT, it's MRIs, it's angiography. You know, there's so much variety, no boredness, and I don't like doing one thing. And it's the whole of medicine, from the cradle to the grave. Even in the grave, we exhume and still image. And it's a beautiful science.
The more radiologists we have, we're going to see even places like Kaputa having medical imaging equipment. Why? Because you've got qualified people to operate that equipment. It's not enough to have equipment. I know people get excited. Now they've got the CT scan. Who's going to run that CT scan? Who's going to interpret those images? So radiology is the future of medicine.
Neurosurgeons, also known as brain surgeons, are doctors who specialize in the surgical treatment and management of conditions that affect the brain, spine, and the nervous system, while radiologists are specialized medical doctors trained to interpret X-rays and other medical imaging tests.
The first Zambians joined a training program, the ZACOMs, to become neurosurgeons. It's been a very difficult journey. And to end up today with these 6 graduates is very exciting. Zambia is not the same anymore. It's a safer place. Once upon a time, everybody had to rush to UTH whenever they had either a head injury or brain tumors. But now with these 6 graduates, they can be spread around the nation.
We have so many head injured patients, so many patients with brain tumors, patients in both the pediatric and adult population that need brain and spine surgeries. And there was a huge gap that we had to fill in this country. So we dreamt even bigger, and we charted a path to become the first neurosurgeons that are produced in this country. This is such an honor to be able to serve Zambia at this level.
And Ministry of Health Permanent Secretary Administration, Dr. George Sinyangwe, who officiated at the graduation ceremony in Lusaka, has assured the graduates that government will consider them for upgrade when it starts the recruitment of the 3,000 health workers later this year.
I want to assure the students graduating today that they will be considered for upgrading when the Ministry of Health starts its employment drive of 3,000 healthcare workers sometime this year. We are also in serious, and I mean very serious, negotiations with regional countries to supply Zambian specialist doctors to them. We will soon be communicating to the country the numbers that other countries are actually asking for. Of course, this will not be at the expense of our care in our country.
The graduates in the 2 fields of study are among the different medical practitioners who have graduated in various advanced medical and surgical procedures and are keen to help improve the health services of the country. Prudence Jota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Opposition Patriotic Front presidential hopeful Emmanuel MWAMBA is detained at EMMANUEL police station in Lusaka. Mr. MWAMBA, who was apprehended on Wednesday afternoon for an undisclosed charge, is yet to be formally arrested and charged. Lawyers representing Mr. MWAMBA were at the EMMANUEL police station. The Zambia Police Public Relations Unit confirmed apprehending Mr. MWAMBA and that details will be given later.
Opposition political party leaders in Zambia continue to cry foul. Just like the COVID-19 pandemic, the wave of arrests continues to grab them one by one, and the Patriotic Front is topping the list, with the latest casualty being the PF presidential hopeful Emmanuel MWAMBA. Not until the 14th of June 2023, he has been the one giving updates to the media on the arrests of various political figures. Thursday, 15th June 2023, PF officials were frequenting EMMANUEL police station where Mr. MWAMBA is detained. Earlier in the day, we spoke to former Patriotic Front, former Secretary General Davis Mwila, who expressed concern over the delay to charge Mr. MWAMBA.
Car wash, and they grabbed all the phones from him, including the people that were passing, because they were trying to film or record what was happening. But now, this morning, we have been informed that he's here at EMMANUEL. That's why we are here. So that's why he has been detained. I want to say that the law provides that anyone that is detained is interrogated as quickly as possible, so that he is given a police bond. And if he's not given a police bond, he's taken to court so that he's given a bail. So far, this is the second day.
While the United Party for National Development Administration has been saying that arrests were being undertaken in upholding the rule of law, however, New Heritage Party President Chishala Kateka, who was at the police station to give solidarity to Mr. MWAMBA, claims that the gesture is tantamount to political victimization.
You know, it is very unacceptable, but the optics are also not good. They are not sending a right message at all to anyone. Who are they trying to impress? Why not just do things properly? As New Heritage Party, we have said this many times. Just do the right thing. If you don't do the right thing, you don't know what resistance you will get. It's unnecessary. There's no wisdom in this at all, I can tell you that.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Meanwhile, National Democratic Congress leader Saboy Imboela has charged that there is a lot of political intolerance on the part of the United Party for National Development administration. Ms. Imboela claims that arrests being made by the Zambia police are meant to silence the critical voices. She has since urged opposition political parties in the country to unite and fight what she referred to as injustice.
Violation of their human rights, and I hope that the UPND and President HH is going to stop this as soon as possible. This bitterness, this vengeance, this hatred that the current regime has is actually not good for the country. However, I'm very happy that the US Embassy has now released their 2022 human rights record or report for Zambia, and I urge everybody to read it. All these arrests, all these violations of human rights are well covered in that report. So the international community is seeing what is going on in this country, and it's something which is going to tarnish the image of this country even further. And for a country that is relying on the IMF and the international community to actually get money out there, it will become more and more difficult for the UPND to even get money. We have seen how they have struggled, you know, to get the bailout package from the IMF. They've really struggled, and instead of cleaning up their human rights record, they're actually worsening it. So for this, I would like to urge all the members of the opposition to stand together. You know, they need to unite, denounce the government, and ensure that all these things are brought to the public. Because right now, apart from the opposition political party leaders, they're actually following people in WhatsApp groups and Facebook. We have seen the arrests of Thompson. We have seen the arrests of Andy, you know, over something which people shared on social media. Social media is like that. A lot of information there, when people share, they begin to share without something being verified. So to get two people for something which was shared by many people and lump it on one or two people, I think is very unfair. And for me, it just shows how much the UPND would stop at nothing because of the intolerance to arrest as many people as they want in the country at the moment.
The Community Action Against Corruption has disagreed with some sections of society who are claiming that UPND members should not participate in monitoring the Constituency Development Fund projects across the country for fear of introducing politicization of the projects. Organization Chief Executive Officer Brighton Tembo says citizens' participation in monitoring how state resources are being used is commendable. Mr. Tembo says history has shown us that state resources can easily be abused through corrupt practices by the people tasked to execute the projects on behalf of the people.
We've got no objections to the proposal or the idea that UPND members should help to monitor the Constituency Development Fund projects taking place across the country. I think that idea is good because it will help to improve financial monitoring concerning the funds that are allocated to the development. You know, in the past, we saw how people who were entrusted with the funds misused the state funds and left many projects as white elephants. We can cite an example of the Frederick Chiruba University in Luapula province, whose funds just disappeared. And there are also many more other white elephant projects that were abandoned after the funds were misused. So if citizens can be mobilized to help monitor the projects that are funded by CDF, that is a welcome move. Not only UPND members, even other citizens who are interested in seeing prudent application of state resources, they can come in and join. So let us have citizens who are active in monitoring what is going on in their own localities, unlike a situation where these citizens are just aloof and what goes on within their constituencies, they do not know. This is the reason why people are just told to say that project has stalled. because they were not interested in monitoring what was going on. So the idea is good. We cannot object.
Mimbula Mines Human Resources Manager Upite Chishika says his organization has never received any reports of female employees being sexually violated at a workplace. Mr. Chishika says the company has very strong policies against the harassment of women and that all employees at the mine are aware of the consequences involved in engaging in such vices. He says if the vice is happening at the mine, parties involved should report to the relevant authorities so that the law takes its course. The response comes in the wake of reports that some female workers at the Mimbula mine are being sexually harassed in the name of being recognized and possibly getting promoted. This is after a lady who sought anonymity reported that she had experienced sexual harassment firsthand, which has left her traumatized and frustrated.
In any case that has been brought to my attention that any of our employee has been arrested. That is all I can say, and that is what you can put on record in this regard. Because as far as I know, we have a strong harassment policy in place, and if anyone has been harassed by anyone, such cases must be reported to HR or must be reported to the supervisor. The supervisor is supposed to take disciplinary action against that. We take such issues very serious. We are there, we are open, and if anything of that nature really happens to anyone, actions will be taken. Again, we have got the disciplinary code, which is strong. The disciplinary code states that if someone harasses a woman, definitely that person must be dismissed. So it's a serious case that we take ourselves.
Health Minister Sylvia Masebo says government wants to ensure that all health workers are respected and treated equally regardless of their position. The minister, who spoke at the Biomedical Engineering Association of Zambia Symposium in Lusaka Thursday, says every subsector of the Ministry of Health is as important as the other categories and should be respected. Ms. Masebo says good quality care cannot be served better if other sectors are looked down on, such as the cleaners being mistreated. She says government is committed at working with all categories in the health sector to provide a better service to the people, and says government will remain in the middle between the people of Zambia and health practitioners.
Deliver good quality health care without the other components of the health staff under the Ministry of Health. So we attach great importance to that fact, and I want those that are in the medical sector to appreciate that important fact. That the man responsible in the kitchen in the hospital is as important as the nurse. The cleaners, the laundry staff, they are just as important as a biomedical engineer. Because without the other, you cannot claim that you deliver quality healthcare service. To that effect, every Wednesday we have the annual consultative management meeting, wherein all the associations under the Ministry of Health, all the statutory bodies under the Ministry of Health, the entire management of the Ministry of Health, including all the provincial health directors and the superintendents.
Tourism Permanent Secretary Evans Mohanga says Zambia and Zimbabwe must find ways of increasing the number of visitors to the Victoria Falls to improve economic benefits. He made the remarks when he officially opened the Joint Technical Committee meeting between Zambia and Zimbabwe over the management of the transboundary Mosi-Otunya Victoria Falls World Heritage Site. Mr. Mohanga says some waterfalls that are not even at the Victoria Falls status around the world are attracting more and more visitors, translating into positive economic benefits for people around them. He said the Zambian government believes that heritage should first speak to the communities and chiefdoms where they are found before they speak to the outside world. And Zimbabwe National Commission for UNESCO Secretary General Margaret Chirapa said various agencies from the two countries have done a commendable job in conservation of the heritage site since 2005.
That the Victoria Force has to bring value, has to create jobs that are required. You know, governments lose elections on the basis that they have not created enough jobs for the people. They have not actually economically improved the status of the people in the areas where they live. So this is why we are urging all of you to be sensitive to that aspect as well.
The two state parties decided to set up structures that will assist in the management of the site. We have what we call the Joint Site Management Committee, made up of people who are on the ground from both Zimbabwe and Zambia, primarily ZIMPACs on the Zim site and the National Heritage and Conservation Commission. We also have the Joint Technical Committee. Mr. Ndio has already alluded to these structures, and the Joint Technical Committee is the one that is meeting now. We meet on a rotational basis between Zimbabwe and Zambia, which means that the next one will be in Zimbabwe, in Victoria Falls.
This is Camnet Television, and not just another channel. Join us for more news after this break.
Deborah, have you connected to the Wi-Fi on the bus? It's fast, it's amazing. I've just downloaded my books and I'm about to complete the series. It's nice, too.
No, I'm actually watching a reality show. He's about to propose. Oh, so sweet.
Make your trip seem short yet comfortable and safe when you use the UBZ luxurious fully air-conditioned coaches that come fitted with amazing onboard entertainment, passenger information services, coffee-making facilities and fridge for your hot and cold beverages, free and interrupted Wi-Fi for your gadgets, phone charging facilities, comfortable seats that recline to offer extra resting posture, safety seat belts, adjustable reading lights for each traveling client, and of course, clean flushing toilets for your convenience. So travel in luxury and safety with UBZ luxurious coaches. UBZ will always take you there.
You know I can take her a bit.
Yes, my dear.
I was thinking of getting you a Bugatti on your birthday.
Really?
I'm quiet. My name is Yana.
Don't worry, my dear. That's why there is insurance.
Insurance?
You read me?
Not just any kind of insurance, but Savenda General Insurance, a company that offers superior customer service, highly professional and dedicated staff. We are not just any insurance company, but an insurance company that actually pays our claims. We cover, among others, fire, marine, aviation, engineering, agriculture, motor vehicle, and miscellaneous insurance. So, live life to the full, knowing that Savenda General Insurance has got you covered. Savenda General Insurance. Insurance excellence.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet Television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet Television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Television, not just another channel.
Welcome back. We'll continue with the news. Government has dismissed reports circulating on social media that it has acquired a loan from the World Bank to double the Constituency Development Fund, CDF. Local Government and Rural Development Permanent Secretary Mambo Hamaundu says the social media reports are misrepresenting facts on the aim and objectives of the World Bank-supported Zambia Devolution Support Program, ZDSP. Mr. Maundu has clarified that ZDSP is a government-led program supported by the World Bank in the form of a concessional loan of $210 million United States dollars aimed at supporting some components of decentralization. Mr. Maundu states that the objectives of the ZDSP through the concessional loan is to strengthen the financing, institutional performance and accountability of local authorities in the rural parts of Zambia. He says the ZDSP has a support duration of 5 years, covering the period 2022 to 2027. Mr. Maundu says with an outlay of $210 million US dollars, the operations cover 96 town councils and aim to work closely with the central government wings, namely the Ministry of Local Government, Ministry of Finance and National Planning, Office of the Auditor General, the Zambia Public Procurement Authority, the Local Government Service Commission, and the Decentralization Secretariat. Copperbelt Energy Corporation PLC, CEC, has emphasized the need for coordinated efforts in the transition to green energy sources. Managing Director Mr. Owen Silavwe stated today during a sponsor interview session and panel discussion on the ongoing DRC Mining Week that the company is aware of the rising energy demand in the Southern African Development Community, SADC. The conversation was focused on the contribution of the SADC mining sector to the global energy transition. He disclosed that the region's energy supply shortfall is about 5,000 megawatts, further reiterating the need for significant investments in the energy industry, both by the public and private investors, to keep up with the growing demand. CEC unveiled a 34-megawatt solar power plant in Kitwe and is now building a 60 megawatts one in Itimpi. Additionally, the company is now conducting feasibility studies for the Masaiti Wind Project, a different energy source that is anticipated to provide 138 megawatts of electricity. Zambia will tomorrow join the rest of the world in commemorating the International Day of the African Child. Break Free, a child-centered organization, says the day is important as it helps in the promotion of child rights. Break Free Program Regional Coordinator Hamweka Munkombwe says this year's theme, which is the rights of the child in the digital environment, comes in handy as the digital space has been abused. He observes that there is a lot of misinformation that could lead to children being harmed. He says his organization has come up with digital programs that are aimed at empowering children with correct information of various aspects of life.
The theme basically on the rights of children on the digital world. I think it comes in very handy for us in Break Free especially because you see the digital space now is mostly being used for lots of things. There's a lot of misinformation on the digital platform, but also we can use that platform for us to engage with children, but for us also to communicate with children in the right way. And as a Break Free, we are using a platform called the Youthwise platform, which is a digital platform. This platform is, of course, is a birth of SAT, which is the partner organization for the Break Free project. And in this digital platform, we are using it basically to ensure that we are sending out information on SRHR, which is correct. Also making sure that we are educating the young people in a more interactive way, and which is a correct education and also age-appropriate education. So I think we welcome this theme as a program to ensure that we are able to deliver the messages to the world and also most important to the young people.
This is Camnet Television Main News. We'll take a second and final break. Join us for international sports news after the break.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
And now in international news, communities affected by last month's floods and landslides in eastern DRC have denounced the distribution of aid in the region. Members of a group of survivors claim that the Crisis Management Committee in charge of distributing government aid is profiteering from the crisis. Here's a roundup for News Beyond Our Borders.
A new study published by the French Institute of International Relations claims that anti-French sentiment in French-speaking Africa has taken root and spread beyond the educated urban elite. Some African officials and public opinion are extraordinarily sensitive, and understandably so, to being treated as equals and not having someone lecturing or ironizing them. So that's something we need to take on board here. There are a number of attitudes that deeply offend our interlocutors, and there is a historical context that explains this. The report suggests that the intensification of anti-French sentiment can be explained by disappointing economic and political trajectories in countries where the population had once pinned their hopes on economic progress and democracy. In addition to that, there's also the influence of Russian propaganda. Let's say that the three main criticisms revolve around the three pillars of France's African policy, namely on currency, aid and military presence. Social networks are at the heart of the circulation of these discourses. They are obviously fueled by analysis that may or may not be biased, but also by fake news that has circulated very, very widely. And I'm thinking in particular of certain videos or photos showing French soldiers supposedly stealing gold or consorting with jihadists. And all this fake news and biased analysis has ultimately fed into connected public opinion, and in turn into public opinion itself.
Les opinions publiques connectées et par ricochet les opinions publiques tout court.
The number of French troops in Africa has fallen drastically from 30,000 in the early 1960s to around 6,100 today. Communities affected by last month's floods and landslides in eastern DRC have denounced the distribution of aid in the region. Members of a group of survivors claim that the Crisis Management Committee in charge of distributing government aid is profiteering from the crisis. Here we found a lot of bodies. When the machine passed, there are at least 13 bodies that we found. There are also crates, because on the other side there were shops. We found empty crates, alcohol, money, clothes too, mattresses that were already damaged, but it was on the other side. A few days after the disaster, the Congolese government announced aid for 200 affected families, amounting to around 1,000 euros per household. Victims claim that they only received a small fraction of this money. They told us there was a lot of money, but they diverted it themselves. They only gave us around 150 euros. They told us that all the money had been distributed, but they embezzled it. I went to sign. Then they prevented me and claimed that I had stolen this token. The allegations by the victims are being investigated by a lawyer working on behalf of a member of parliament. We have information that there are even bags of rice, bags of flour, blankets and women's clothing that have been discovered in Kalehe Center, while the women of Nyamukubi and the women of Bushushu, who are direct victims of these floods you saw, they spend the night on the ground. They don't even have anything to eat. More than 2,500 people are still missing. Official figures claim that 443 people have lost their lives.
A small fish is dangled under the beak of an emaciated penguin at a South African clinic to whet the bird's appetite. The sickly animal is among dozens undergoing treatment in the coastal town of Gebea, where a dedicated center is located.
So these birds don't swim much at the moment because they are injured. So if they don't swim, they don't drink, which is why we have to give them fluids. But the adult birds in the other pen at the front, they're in our rehab section, so they will swim at least 3 times a day, in which they'll get their fluids. So we don't give them fluids.
Experts have warned the African penguin could become functionally extinct in the next decade. The South African Foundation for Conservation of Coastal Birds is helping to take care of ill, injured and abandoned seabirds, including this species.
I love these birds. They're vicious, but they're incredibly sweet at the same time. And it's lovely to know that I'm forming part of an organization that's making a little bit of a difference. We're trying to reverse some of the human damage caused to these birds over the years. They don't feel like that. But it's a lovely feeling when you wake up in the morning. They make it so worth it. The early days, the long days, in the rain, in the cold. These guys are really worth it.
Over the past 2 weeks, about 40 baby penguins have been transferred here from Bird Island, an islet home to one of Africa's largest penguin colonies, 60 kilometers off Gebea. Heavy rains have battered the island, washing away nests and chicks.
So sadly, the population is declining quite drastically. So since 2015, we've lost about 90% of the population in Algoa Bay and around 75% in the Western Cape. So overall, the population is declining, and there's a real threat that this species can become functionally extinct in the next decade, which is very scary because that's in the next 10 years.
Around 50,000 mating pairs of penguins inhabited the shorelines of South Africa and Namibia 3 decades ago. Today, the number has dropped to 10,000 pairs.
It's now time for sports news. In our sports news tonight, the Zambia women's national team kick-started their international camp in Germany for the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup. The Copper Queens were all smiles as they arrived in northern Bavaria for an international camp that includes 3 friendlies against Republic of Ireland, Switzerland and Germany in 3 weeks. They underwent a recovery session before embracing ball skill exercises, running and other performance-related exercises. Bruce Mwape's side opens their 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup campaign against Japan in Hamilton on the 22nd of July. The Copper Queens will then face Spain at Eden Park on the 26th of July before playing their final Group C match against Costa Rica in Hamilton 5 days later. To end Camnet Television main news, the headlines once again. PF presidential hopeful MWAMBA remains in police custody. Zambia graduates faced locally trained neurosurgeons and radiologists. LUSAKA woman gets 30 months simple imprisonment for manslaughter. In international news, flood victims denounce aid profiteering in Eastern DRC. And in sports news, Copper Queens kick-off Germany camp. Our Camnet verse of the day is coming from the book of James 1 verse 20. For the anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God. Again, thank you so much for watching Camnet Television Main News. I'm Jeffrey Ziambo. Bye-bye.